everybody, and a warm welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Behind the camera, if you're watching us on Facebook, is Peter Clayton, who's not only a great photographer, but a wonderful singer and musician in his own right.
Thank you, Jeremy.
No, not at all. I mean, we've known each other for, I don't know, 40 years or something? A long time. Before we get into the stuff of the day, April the 19th, 1770, British explorer Captain James Cook first sights Australia. Isn't that fascinating? The very day that he first saw the coastline. Writes in his log, he says, "What we have as yet seen of this land appears rather low and not very hilly, the face of the country green and woody, but the seashore is all white sand." Must have been a pristine, beautiful vision. Never mentions that he saw any natives or occupants. Also the same day, this was 1967, Casino Royale, James Bond. It was in fact a comedy film, and they put David Niven in it, David Niven and Peter Sellers. It premieres based on the Ian Fleming novel, but it became more, more spy-orientated than comedy-orientated in later movies, obviously. 1984, Advance Australia Fair is proclaimed as Australia's national anthem, with green and gold being the national colours. Actress Mae West. This was 1927. Actress Mae West found guilty of obscenity and corrupting the morals of youth. A New York stage play entitled simply Sex. She is sentenced to 10 days in prison and fined $500. The resulting publicity launches a multi-million-dollar Hollywood career. I don't know, was she the one who said, "Come up and see me sometime"?
I'm not sure.
I think so. And when Cary Grant was asked something like, "I believe Mae West discovered you," and he said, well, at least part of me. he didn't elaborate as to what part. Another blonde bombshell, Jane Mansfield, the actress. The Girl Can't Help It was one of her films. She was born in 1933. Johnny Cash in 1963 releases Ring of Fire, written by his future wife, June Carter, and Merle Kilgore, who in his own right is a great singer, Merle Kilgore. 2005, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger is elected Pope. He chooses the name Benedict. Daphne du Maurier, English writer, wrote Rebecca. Did you ever see Rebecca, Pete?
No.
Oh, great movie. It was a David O. Selznick movie from memory, but it opens with this wonderful, I think the name of the house was Dragonwyck, or am I confusing my movies? Anyway, it opens with the line, "Last night I dreamt I went to Mandalay." And don't ask me who was in it. But Rebecca was a wonderful movie. And Daphne du Maurier, she also wrote The Birds, which was an Alfred Hitchcock horror movie. Anyway, this was the day she died. She was 82 back in 1989. Kate Hudson, who's the daughter of Goldie Hawn. She was born 1979. The American Revolution begins in Lexington, Massachusetts. This is, as I was telling you, I think it was yesterday, Paul Revere rode from Lexington, wherever he rode, yelling, "The regulars are coming." The very beginning of the American Revolution in Massachusetts. Shot heard round the world, they say. 1775. Dudley Moore, sometimes known as the sex thimble. Dudley Moore, great pianist too. 1935. comedian, actor. NASA successfully flies its drone helicopter on Mars, making it the first powered aircraft to fly in another world. Charles Darwin, the English naturalist, 1882. Charles Darwin, Origin of the Species, dies of a heart attack, 1882, and he was 73. The Beatles signed a contract to stay together for 10 years, and guess what? They didn't. That was in 1967. And Joan of Arc was beatified in 1909. If you remember the day for any reason, I hope it's going to be a fantastic day. In the news, I like to try and find positive stuff. You know, I mean, you can always find negative stuff. But if you look at the financial news, which I'm not really qualified to do, but I have a passing interest in it. If you look at some of the stuff that's out of Wall Street in the last couple of days, you'd swear it's a bull market, a raging bull market. The last 21 days have seen some quite extraordinary buying, so there's confidence out there. And confidence is a good thing. I wonder what the people who put Phantom of the Opera on in New York thought back all those years. 35 years, in fact, when they opened the curtains and the show was open for the first time. Started 26th of January 1988, 35 years ago. Closing. Well, that's a long run. You can't really be complaining about it. I think probably Mousetrap is their longest running theatrical production. But Phantom of the Opera is closing, and there was a rumor that cats. Cats coming back. Cats are coming back. No, I think the rats are already there. I told you the story the other day. PETA, P-E-T-A, the animal activist outfit, they are coming to the aid of the New York rats. Rats don't have many friends. They've got terrible PR. But as I said, it's open war with the mayor appointing a rat czar to kill them all. Apparently that's what czars do. A rat czar. In fact, Harry says, why don't you tell us more about the rat czar you mentioned? Okay, well, her name is Kathleen Corrady, appointed last Wednesday by Mayor Eric Adams. She has the experience and energy to send them packing, he said. She's a primary school teacher. What she says, one of her quotes, I hate rats. I hate rats. Everyone in New York hates rats. Rats are tough, but New Yorkers are tougher. She was chosen, apparently, from 900 applicants. Destiny is calling, she said. I wonder what she has planned for the poor rats. The real problem is, of course, the dirt and the rubbish piled up in the streets. That's what brings the rats, and the rats bring the sickness, the plague. I mean, go to the cause of the problem. How many times do we say that, I wonder? We always treat the effect. We never treat the cause. Go to the cause. And on things theatrical, not related, Kylie Minogue has refused an invitation to sing at the after-coronation concert for King Charles. I think that's stupid. I really do. Why would you refuse that? What a lovely honour. Millions of people would see, obviously. Lionel Richie and Katy Perry, a big yes, and I think also Andrea Bocelli. It'll be quite a night, I would have thought. And how often does a coronation come along in one's life? Oh well, to each his own. Happy families. Now this is alarming. According to the ACCC Scam Watch, which is sort of like a division they have, the number of scams is up 80% on last year. 80%. 500,000 reported incidents. My God. Now, we lost a staggering $3.1 billion to a variety of scams, mostly to those of an investment nature, apparently. But this could really be the tip of the iceberg, because many scams, or attempted scams, go unreported. We're simply too ashamed to admit that we've been taken. Now, talking about shame, I've got a report here that says shopkeepers in Alice Springs are sleeping in their shops to prevent vandalism and looting. Can you imagine how desperate you'd have to be to protect your property, I mean? The government, the Labor government, go on saying, no problem here. No, nothing to worry about. Here's a question. Would this government resign if it won the referendum for the Aboriginal voice to Parliament? And if after a period of time, I don't know, reasonable period of time, we see absolutely no improvement in the situation facing Aboriginals, in other words, the gap between black and white, we saw no improvement with the poverty, the lawlessness, the drunkenness, the domestic violence, would they put their hand up and say, okay, we'll resign? Because I can tell you, looking at the whole thing objectively, there is no way in the world that all of this nonsense about the voice is going to make any difference to the Aboriginals in outback Australia or regional Australia, who should be the major consideration. Really. Now, it's alarming the number of doctors' surgeries who have announced they are going to scrap bulk billing. Now, I heard one doctor on the 6 o'clock news on Channel 9 saying he would just have to close the business if he couldn't charge enough. I'll have to close the business. Now, I never thought doctors were in business. Where did that come from? Maybe I'm just too idealistic or something. If you want to make money and go into business, well, plumbing is good. Bricklaying, I wouldn't recommend radio. Law would be fine. Singing, what do you think, Pete? I mean, you get a couple of hit records, I guess you're cooking with gas. I thought doctors were professionals above the business of making money. Sure, you obviously have to make enough money to keep the practice efficient and sound. Somebody should take charge and assess exactly what a visit to the doctor should cost. And if the government can't cover that through Medicare, well, let them stop the Medicare levy on our incomes. And we'll look after the shortfall ourselves, all right? Whatever that might be. But I'm sure for a 15-minute consultation, it can't be $150. Who sets doctors' fees anyway? We've got to arrive at a fair and affordable price where everybody is happy and rewarded. Now, in Newcastle, and by Newcastle I mean Newcastle in England, from a laboratory there comes this piece of news. They have invented meat. with the journalist saying, wonderful news, because all those animals that are grazing the meadows of the world will no longer be emitting climate-changing methane. What a lot of rot. My God, people all over the world for countless centuries have been involved in the raising of cattle and sheep and pigs. I mean, people lifted out of poverty through their own enterprise and hard work. Farmers, the backbone of most nations in the civilized world, and even the uncivilized world. Can you imagine sitting down for a steak that came out of the laboratory? And really, is this about methane? Is it about climate change? Look it up. Look it up. 50% of the methane, which is, I agree, a bad greenhouse gas, probably the worst greenhouse gas, it comes from wetlands. 50% from wetlands and marshes. It really has very little to do with cattle. But I keep saying it. I don't know how many people hear it. The Liberal Party, well, look who's jumping ship. People jumping ship on the Liberal Party. Julian Leeser, Ken Wyatt, Bridget Arthur, Andrew Bragg, Simon Birmingham. Well, not all jumping from the Liberal Party, but they are going to support The Voice. They should form their own party. They could call it, I don't know, the small L Liberals or the Wets or the Progressives or something. But they're not. They're not Liberals in my book. Alex Antic is my idea of a Liberal. Oh, well, some people might call him a Conservative, I don't know. But I think that's where the Conservatives or the Liberals sort of land, isn't it? But why do I say that? Well, this is why. Listen to this. This is Senator Alex Antic from Adelaide.
Welcome to country ceremonies are now as ubiquitous as they are inescapable. Australians are forced to sit through these rituals everywhere from the commencement of Parliament to school assemblies. They're now more common than singing our national anthem. And far from being an ancient practice, these rituals began to be used by progressive activists in the early 2000s. The practice suggests that Australians whose families have lived here for generations, possibly since settlement, are not welcome. The welcome to country is nothing more than something wealthy city people love to do to make themselves feel good. All Australians have the right to call this country home, but the activists and bureaucratic classes want division as it perpetuates the victimhood mindset which they use to manipulate people. And by the way, when's reconciliation actually going to be achieved? What does it look like practically? Will it be achieved when we've got a treaty? When it will be achieved when Australians are paying some sort of rent tax? Or perhaps when there's a new Indigenous nation that will further divide Australians? The answer is that activists will never be happy, and we all know it, because bitterness and resentment are their bread and butter. So next time you're asked to participate in one of these ceremonies, remember, despite what they say, refusing doesn't make you a racist. So here's my memo to the grievance industry. Thanks for the virtue theatre, but like most Australians, I'm sick and tired of being welcomed to my own country.
Now, to jest all of that, we have at the moment one of, if not the greatest countries in the world. But things are changing, and it scares me. We better do something and probably do it quick. I'm talking about, in particular, there are many things we need to look at, but I'm talking in particular about Lydia Thorpe. Senator Lydia Thorpe. A far cry from Senator Alex Antic. Senator Lydia Thorpe, another disgusting display of bad behaviour. Really amazing stuff. Banned for life from a strip club, drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning, screaming abuse and racial slurs at other patrons. You stole my country! You have a small penis! Can you imagine if a white male senator did the same thing? Particularly if it was done to a woman, that person's career would be over. Finished. Honestly, that woman's got to go. That she was elected to the Senate in the first place is an indictment of the current system. God, enough is enough, surely. Leave you with that. Not exactly an up moment in the court of public opinion, but we will be back tomorrow with more stuff. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself. Goodbye from me and Peter Clayton.